The government's still trying to thrash out a deal with Indonesia over the suspension of live cattle exports. And while it drags on, farming groups and stock agents are warning the beef industries in limbo. They say the impact's now spreading from the north of Australia to the southern states too. In Victoria, cattle sale prices have dropped by about a fifth since the suspension was announced. National Affairs correspondent Heather Ewart reports.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you what outstanding big battleships are cows, and look at the job they're doing, those cows underneath them.
After years of drought, the seasons this year have been kind to Victorian cattle producers.
Over $1,100 a fresh product. Yes. No, 25, yes. 50.
At the Euroa sale yards in the state's northeast this week, they could reasonably have expected high prices for their cattle to match their change of fortune.
$1,150, $1,450. Look at $1,800 now. He's got the knockouts. Don't let him get it.
But these are not normal circumstances, and they've already had warnings from the state's peak farming body that the suspension of live cattle exports to Indonesia has left its mark down south.
$1,540 betting is sold.
The day the live ban was introduced, we saw a 10 cents a kilo drop in the markets across the board. Since then, we've seen a further softening of the market in the order of around 20%. And we believe when the full turn-off of the northern cattle market industry comes on, we're expecting a further drop in the market of another 10 to 15%.
So, you could slash off, could be 30 or 40% off beef prices if something's not sorted out.
And in money terms, what does that mean?
Millions of dollars. Millions and millions of dollars.
These are the first cattle sales here since the export suspension to Indonesia was announced. There are more nervous onlookers than buyers here today, waiting to see what the effect is going to be on prices. This is an industry where word travels fast, and predictions are gloomy, especially when they're also up against the strong Aussie dollar.
There's no question about that. But we've seen prices in the last 5 or 6 months at strong levels after years of drought, which has been very good for producers. Now we've got this on top of it, which is just taken the confidence out of everyone again.
$600.
This well-known local stock agent could see the lack of confidence on display yesterday. It was what's known in the industry as a store sale, where cows and calves, younger cattle, are sold for fattening up. Old hands at the game, and relative newcomers too, were holding back.
I was going to buy cows today and I've just sat on my hands, kept them in my pockets, haven't done anything.
The jitters are instantaneous and the physical effects might be quite some time in coming this far south, but I think certainly throughout the industry it's pretty jittery with what's happened.
And I think we'll see probably that continue into the next month and probably the month after that until there's something happens with Indonesia. Yeah.
How are local producers going to cope with that?
Oh, they're going to be pissed off.
What they're most worried about is the government's time frame for resolving what they see as a crisis for the entire beef industry. Indonesia's weight limit for our live cattle exports adds to the sense of urgency.
As the northern market is shut down, those cattle get too heavy to be eligible for the Indonesian market. They will find other markets, which means they will come south to our processing sector down here and give added competition to the cattle here in Victoria.
Do you think that perhaps you're all talking this problem up a little bit, that you're getting too nervous in advance without really knowing what's going to happen?
No, I just think that when you've got the numbers of cattle they have up north that have been stood down from export, from such a big market on our doorstep, I think it's probably fairly well justified, really.
The longer it goes, the more damage there'll be, because the bigger chance there is that somebody else will move into that market to supply the Indonesians. And then we've got no control over the way they kill cattle.
$1,000. And then $1,000 bid.
While the sky didn't fall in at the Euroa stockyards yesterday, it was a patchy day, and overall cattle went for even lower prices than expected.
I think it's a lot cheaper than before. About $200 or more cheaper than the last sale here.
Rocky Primerano decided to cut his losses and take some of his cattle back home. He's more worried than ever about what lies ahead.
Yeah, very. Because my son is a young bloke and he got to go to Melbourne to work to make money to live in the farm. And he bought some calves about 1.5 months ago in the Rother Glen A lily calves, it pays $470 each, and now they're worth $320.
There was one unexpected and potentially positive twist at yesterday's sale. A delegation from the Kazakhstan government was on the lookout for breeding cattle to improve its herd at home.
So, yes, the prices are really interested for us. They are interesting. We would like to buy probably 70,000 heads of cattle in the near future, probably next year.
The locals at Euroa, though, were somewhat sceptical about whether that would happen and they'd be the beneficiaries. They're more concerned about the here and now and what they'll be facing at the next lot of sales in a month's time.
Heather Ewart reporting.